Thank you for tuning in to the Making a Change Group's Connected Communities broadcast.
Making a Change Group is dedicated to empowering youth, strengthening families, and building healthier communities in Chester, PA and its surrounding areas. Check out our season lineup. On Monday, we have Chester View with Amanda Johnson. Amanda tours Chester and captures positive endeavors from our citizens. On Tuesday, we have View MACG Tuesday with Sade Holland. Sade and guests talk about youth development, problems, and solutions regarding today's youth and parent engagement. On Wednesday, the Connected Vision segment on Wednesday with Amber Hollis and contributing hosts Marielle and Faith. The Connected Vision's family-based programs aims to break the cycle of poverty through financial literacy, address trauma, and encourage healthier lifestyles through goal settings, social and emotional learning, and case management. On Thursday, Talk About It Thursdays with the Change and Advocacy Committee of MAC. Taylor, George, Haley, and Jameer discuss issues involving social justice while raising voices of concern on topics that impact Chester City and Delaware County. On Friday, Chester Blog Live with Stefan Roots as he talks about the latest in government community affairs, public health, and safety issues with various special guests.
My name is Louis Fields. I'm the author of Eyes of a Dream, Story of a Non-Traditional Social Worker, and you're watching Chester View.
Hello everyone, thank you for tuning in. Today's show, we are going to be discussing basically the book Eyes of Dreams, Story of a Non-Traditional Social Worker by Louis Fields. We have the privilege and the honor to have Mr. Fields in the studio today. Say hello to the people.
Hello everyone, nice to be here. My second home, family.
Now, Mr. Fields, in your book, you actually have acknowledgments. And it says, I give special tribute and honor to Mr. and Mrs. Jones, founder of the Youth in Action Incorporation of Chester, PA. So today, we're going to talk about Youth in Action. He's going to take us down memory lane. And just tell us, how did you meet Mr. and Mrs. Jones?
Well, I went to Cheney University, and a couple of friends of mine at Cheney, Arlington Pinger, he had the opportunity to doing some political work here in the community, and he asked me would I like to come with him to Chester. So we came into Chester, and I was introduced to Mrs. and Mrs. Jones, the 502 Party. But I recognized some of the other students too, was Rocky Brown and Dennis Rockwell, also went to Cheney. So we gave out the information, and lunchtime came. Lunchtime came, I started smelling something that I was used to smelling. Yeah, lady came out, seemed to look like my grandma. That was Miss Watley. That was Mrs. Jones' mom. She came out with fried chicken, baked macaroni, collard greens. I said, oh Lord, I need to come back here again. So after that, I was introduced to the Young Black Society. which Rocky Brown, Dennis Rockwell, Virginia Stewart, Sylvia McNeil, Pernsley, Lonnie Morris. They was all involved. And it was in Miss Jones' house. So as time went on, I got involved. Always coming back, I had to have that meal. Miss Jones said to me, would you like to help us develop an organization, because we're a club, but we would like to be an organization? And I said, oh, I'll give it some thought. She said, well, we're going to try to help you in all manners. And Mr. Ike said, well, I can get you a job with the City Recreation Department. I said, oh, that sounds kind of good to get me off the campus. So I ended up coming, volunteering, and helping Miss Jones with Miss Marshall, Vivian Marshall, who was her best friend at that time, to create the documents that was needed for the beginning of Youth in Action. And I was working at Chester Recreation Department, Earl Luzinski, and going to school. But I never lived in Chester, but I wouldn't say that. I would go to school, catch the R3, go to my little place, and head on into Chester. As time went on, I think it's about a year now, we started doing the 501c3 and creating all the documents that was necessary. Ms. Jones explained it to me that it would take maybe 3 years before we would receive any funding. So in that 3-year period, I learned about the history, the former history of the advocacy of Ms. Jones and the Jones family and other people in the community. I learned about the Greater Chester movement. I learned about the Chester floods. I learned how the group of young people helped with the floods of giving out Red Cross medication, food. They was an inspiration to the city of Chester. Rocky I talked with him, and they was a part of delivering the youth peer counseling model in Harrisburg, the state capital. This was when it was the Black Young Society. Next thing you know, we was able to get and move in our first place. That was 3rd and Curlin storefront. So when we moved in 3rd and Curlin, the programs we had was after school tutoring and counseling. See, Ms. Jones worked at child care agency at 5th and Penn. And Mr. Igle, he was always working hard, you know, in Philadelphia Electric, you know, 30, 35 years. And he was the stronghold of keeping everybody in order. Many times I came to the house, 502 parking. It was packed. Not only was it packed in the afternoon, in the evening, it looked like it was 24 hours. People were sleeping everywhere. I said, oh my goodness. That house never was kind of empty, was always somebody showing up, having a conversation. Miss Jones always trying to help everybody in the community. So after 5 years, we accumulated enough money. I think Sun Oil gave us $500 the first. And then we applied for monies from the state, juvenile justice money. And we got money from the county to continue the summer job program. We moved again, a bigger place. Ms. Jones, she was a negotiator. She knew just about everybody, and she always was involved in any action that would help the people. I don't care if it was housing, education, employment, trouble in the streets, trouble in the projects, whatever, she would always be there. And they would always come for her because she was a strong, very strong advocate. She was an advocate for 25 years before I even got there, her and Mr. Jones. So I was blessed. See, God sent me this way. Now, they had one basketball team when I first got there. I think I expanded the basketball. But I'm telling you, the first 3 years when I was in there playing basketball, you know, they tried to run me out of the city because I wasn't from here. But I was determined to stay with Big Ike, Champ, Stash, Sugar Bear. These guys I knew was my age. And they brought me along. Especially when your Penn Project, it was right across the street. So when we moved in 9th and Curlin, we opened up to more programs. We had a summer day camp. In the summer, we had the summer job program. And then we got involved with other issues, like bringing the churches. Chicken came in, and they hired the first group of their staffing was from Youth in Action.
Wow. You know what? We're going to take a break right there because he just hit on something very specific. You might have missed it. He said Church's Chicken on 9th and Curlin, but we're going to talk about that when we get back. You stay right there.
The name of my book is called Eyes of Dreams, Story of a Non-Traditional Social Worker. You can purchase it on Amazon.com or either my email address that will be listed below. I want to thank y'all guys for having me and support me in my final calling.
Welcome back. We are here in the studio with Mr. Lewis Fields regarding his book, Eyes of Dreams. And we're basically taking a section of the book talking about Mr. and Mrs. Jones with the Youth in Action Incorporation. So he stopped at the location. And he's taking us on this journey, and I am loving it. So we are now at 9th, 8th in Curlin, where the old Concord Daycare, well, it was after them that it became Concord Daycare. But in his time, he's talking about Church's Chicken. And he said the first group of hires were the young people from, was it Black Society, the Black Youth Society at that time?
No, yeah, Black Youth Society and Youth in Action.
So at that time, they hired the kids from there at Church's Chicken. Yes, a chain store, Church's Chicken on 9th and Curlin. And I'm going to give the floor back to Mr. Lewis. Talk to us.
So when that happened, they hired the kids. We know that we had to end. Ms. Jones knows she had to end. So not only she was a person of unique qualities of getting people to listen to her. And if you didn't work at Sonship, if you didn't have families at Scott Paper, most likely you wouldn't be hired because you had to have a fireman member. Ms. Jones opened up the door where people did get in and they didn't have family members. That came along with the whole process. Isaiah, which is the oldest of the Jones children, was like a little brother to me. He was always attentive and very listenable. You know, he would never say no. He would always like, yeah, what can I do? What can I do? And when we started to have the basketball program at Trinity Church, we only had one team. And me being a basketball guy, I had to understand the history of the great Chester basketball legacy. And that was mostly everybody who had played, from my understanding, at the high came from the Chester Boys Club. 90%, if you ain't going to Chester Boys Club, you wasn't going to make the high team. They had great people there, I got to say that. George Carter, his confidant and his mentor, Mr. Willie Dijonnet. They was inspirational to me because they let me visit and play at the Boys Club. And then they let me talk about the idea about expanding the arena of basketball players in the city of Chester. Like I said, we had one team. All of a sudden, in the early part of years to come, the Chester Upland School District closed all extracurricular activities in the junior high schools. Showwater, Pulaski, and Smalley. And then the city took on and made the Chester Winter Basketball League. And it consisted of the juniors, 13 to 15, intermediates, 16 to 18, and the open division guys like me and some of the superstars in the city of Chester. I can name a whole lot of them. And when that opened up, we had 3 games. We had more than 3 games every night at each junior high school. Mostly all the centers, which was the Boys Club, F.D. Jones, T.T. Thomas, Salvation Army, Sid Russell, because he had control of the Bennett Fairground area and the Lamoken. They all had 3 teams. They had intermediate, our junior, intermediate, and the senior. Youth in Action, we had 3 teams in each category. And that's only because we wrote a proposal and we got brand new uniforms for all 90 players. And then I had to select all the coaches, me and Mr. Ike. We selected all the coaches. And all coaches had was responsible for washing all the jerseys every day for the game. But 75% of the time, it was washed at 502 Park Street. So every night, we would wash uniforms, fold them up, and get them ready for the next game. But expanding that opened up the opportunity for more players to get an opportunity to play. And especially when we had new uniforms, because the rest of the teams, they had T-shirts and trunks. But we had 3-piece uniform pull-off. So it meant something to those 90 participants, you know. And I will always have my Butch Coleman and some lotion in my back pocket, because I wanted them to look extra nice and look like they was at the Spectrum or something, you know, because that's what I was used to. Ms. Jones, she expanded the services from having young ladies participate at the Slayton Farm program. At one time, Slayton Farm was all males, okay? And they used to have graduation. And she talked with the director there. Next thing you know, we had a whole van full of club members who wanted to participate in the graduating of Slayton Farms. I thought that was very unique at that time. Another part that Ms. Jones was always looking at what she can do to help the youth. A couple more programs that was influential and very inspirational. Delaware County gave Chester maybe 125 summer job slots for the summer job, 3 months pay. Ms. Jones and some of her colleagues, maybe Bobby Crawford, was involved in that. Maybe Johnny Monroe, Reverend Johnny Monroe was involved in that. Maybe Bill Dandridge was involved in that. Maybe Yvonne Herrick and Miss Walker was involved in that. She had her group of people that would advocate for the betterment of the youth. Ms. Jones went up to Delaware County and she advocated for 300 jobs. They gave us 275 jobs, summer jobs. Ms. Jones said, "Can you handle that, Lou?" I said, "Handle some job program?" I said, "Yeah." I didn't know it was 275 applications that had to get done. So I ended up going to each of the junior high school and the high school and getting kids to fill out the applications. And once they fill out the applications, we had to go to the unemployment office behind Oppenheimer's and so they can get certified. And before they went in, I was just standing on the step and I said, "Let me see your application." So kids would show me the application. So you forgot the T and the I ain't checked off over here. So before you know it, I was checking off the I and the T's of the application so they can get in, so they can pass the registration. We had a couple of nice people over there, like Ronnie Laws. Ron Laws was one of the greatest person over there. And I got to say that because he never turned me down anything I needed. Even when the application wasn't processed, it gave me time. And there was other people over there too. But I know Ronnie, he was my main person over there. We ran that program for 8 years, almost 10. That's before it expanded and went to other entities. That means that, let's say over 3,000 kids, first time work, was working for 10 years straight. And my whole motto, and Ms. Jones' whole motto was, 99% of y'all was going to get paid, and you have to come talk to us and tell us why you wasn't there, or why you didn't have an excuse. But 95, I can say about 95% of them kids got that check for 3 months a year. And that was a beginning of expansion, not only to the kids, but into the family of those children. You got to know the mothers and fathers. I mean, I got to know the mothers and fathers and other problems in the community. Another particular program that hit the heart, that Ms. Jones, she was always into things to make it better. It was the laboring of the kids, African-American kids or kids, labeling first offenders to go to Lima Detention Center. Ms. Jones thought that was unfair, and so did the other community members. So she did her negotiation. I think it was Paul Gasserigan who was the head of the Juvenile Justice Court at that particular time. She went to county council and started talking about, we got to do something about this. At first, they didn't say anything. Now, most of the kids that had their first offense, they ended up in juvenile court. And Ms. Jones couldn't go all the time. You know, I'm young, Ms. Jones said, "Well, put your suit on and everything. You're going to be a cabinet witness." So here I am, going to media court. I was there so much, one time the judge said, "Louis Fields, you here again?" I said, "Yeah, Your Honor." He said, "What you think, you some kind of lawyer or something?" I said, "No, I ain't no lawyer. I'm just a character witness. I think this young person don't deserve to go to Lima Detention Center for his first offense because he was just a part of it. He actually didn't commit any offense." He said, "Well, what you think we should do?" I said, "I don't know. I'm going to take it back to Ms. Jones." So took back what the judge said to me. told Miss Jones, and Miss Jones thought about it. She got a people, a certain group of people, adult people, I don't know. And she came back with a proposal, Ella Reagan, Government Justice Commission. And next thing we know, we was in district court with Senator Bell was. And the proposal was to start a restitution program for the city of Chester. No longer, first offense kid would go to Lima Detention Center. They would go to District 3 or wherever Senator Bell had his court. And we would have a hearing there, and they would do community service. Community service made up of all of the nonprofit organizations, YMCA, the church, whatever, and they'll go and work that time off instead of being labeled as a delinquent, discrediting them. And that took off. That happened, and a lot of kids were saved by that particular move.
Wow, we're going to pause right there. That is amazing, knowing the advocate was going to speak on behalf of kids she didn't even know. We'll be right back after this. Hey, welcome back. We are here in the studio with Lewis Fields, and we're talking about a segment in his book, Eyes of a Dream, where we are focusing on Mr. and Mrs. Jones with Youth in Action, LC in Chester, PA, and he is taking us on a beautiful journey through and there's so much that they've done, but we're just kind of hitting pieces of it. And we left off with him talking about how she advocated to get the kids who were first offenders not to go to Lima, but to have an alternate path that would try to keep them on the straight and narrow. So, that was the last one. But this time we are going to head on over and talk about the location on Morton Avenue.
We finally made another move, Morton Avenue. And at Morton Avenue, we have more space. We had a first floor and a second floor. So we was still doing tutoring after school. We still doing recreational programs. We still was having club meetings, a group where the young people would come in and talk about their problems, talk about issues that was happening in the city. It was a bigger facility, a bigger building for us. Next thing you know, that something was going on with food commodity in Harrisburg. And they had so much extra food, we used to call it surplus. And nobody in the city of Chester could get that food coming to Chester, except one person, Miss Tamala Jones. She had all kinds of food coming in that building. And she had lots of people that needed that food. These were the commodities coming from Harrisburg. She made that happen. Then the next thing, she opened up the first soup kitchen in the city of Chester. But it wasn't an ordinary soup kitchen. I mean, people was coming around to get that fried chicken, that baked chicken, that macaroni, because she was cooking like she always did. And she was recognized for helping so many people in the community that didn't have a meal. Even clothing drives. She would have people donate clothing, and people would line up on the outside at Morton Avenue to come get clothing. And so I was alive, I would always advocate for the system, for the city, for Miss Jones, and all of the other great advocates that's here, and even the ones of the future. Let's band together. Save the children, save the community. You got great young leaders here that I don't even know. Dawn, love you. So many other ones I can say. Hold tight, hold fast. Your time will come. Chester will be rebuilt. Love y'all guys, and thank you so much for having me.
All right, stay tuned. We'll be right back.